Hello and welcome to the IABM's Training Roundtable at NAB 2019. Today we're going to look at a couple of topics. We're going to look at the skills gap in broadcast. Is it getting bigger or is it getting better? We're going to look at also the challenges that are faced by the move to IP and whether that's bringing anything new to the skills gap. With me today I have a panel of 4 people to help me talk around this topic. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, so let's start at the end here with Joel.
Hello, my name is Joel Welch. I am Director of Education for the Society of Motion Picture and Television Engineers.
Hi, my name is Gerrard Phillips. I work for Arista Networks. I'm a systems engineer.
Hello, I'm Martin Richards. I'm Head of Broadcast Technologies at Sky UK.
Hi, I'm Nicky Marcelin-Horne. I work for ConSol and I'm a specialist headhunter.
Great. All right, thanks guys. So we're going to try and keep the pace moving today, hopefully get through a lot of topics quite quickly. I'd like to pick up with Martin first, if that's all right. As a representative of quite a large employer, you must in your organisation have quite a lot of staff coming and going, maybe not. Can you talk around the skills gap and what that means to you?
Yeah, so at Sky UK, specifically within TV engineering, which is the area we work in, we have both a lot of people leaving, but a lot of people staying as well. So we have lots of staff which have been there anywhere between sort of 5 to 10 to 25 years. So we have a lot of knowledge within the organisation. But we also have a lot of young engineers that are coming in, and we specifically try to put them into some of the more sort of monitoring, operational roles to get them experience within the broadcast industry.
So are you still aware of the skills gap? Is it real? Is there a skills gap? Is there a shortage?
I think there is a skills gap. We what we need is more young people specifically coming into the industry. We have, as I say, we have a lot of people which have been with us for sort of 5 to 25 years, which have a huge breadth of knowledge. But what we struggle with sometimes is actually finding younger people with the specific knowledge that we need within the broadcast industry.
I'm guessing this isn't a new thing. I mean, Gerrard, you spent many years before Arista at Snell and Wilcox and Snell, managing teams. Is this always been a problem, finding people?
I think in high tech it typically is difficult, and we were also located on the south coast of England, which is not a high tech zone. So we would hope to recruit good guys or gals by targeting not the skills they had, but the aptitude to learn and the ability to be team players, and we were confident that we could bring the right people up to the skill sets we needed. But we often didn't recruit we often didn't fill gaps very quickly because we had to find the right people.
And is this something that's specific to broadcast, or now you must have many colleagues on the IT side of the fence? Do they face similar troubles to broadcast in terms of recruitment? Or?
I think recruiting really good people remains difficult, and we're a very fast-growing business and we have exactly that problem. But I think in the IP world, I think there is an awful lot. There's a much bigger pool. I mean, it's a much more common skill set. Now, the skill set of data centers is a wider pool of people, but it's still very deeply technical. So you still need the people that can be very deeply technical and are actually quite wide at the same time. So it's still very challenging, yes.
Yeah.
And I probably agree with Gerrard about the whole idea of actually employing someone that's enthusiastic, keen to learn. They're the skills that I look for when I'm recruiting more than necessarily having in-depth skills in knowledge in areas. It's more about just seeing someone who's prepared to actually read up on stuff and to get involved.
And Nicky, how do headhunters help broadcasters find the right people?
I think the more and more we see hardware turn software, the problem is increasing, and I think this is where the need for us coming in as specialised recruiters in order to find the specialised skills and also the right people that fit into the organisations.
And you've spent many years at Caspian One in the UK, and you've just relocated to the US.
Indeed.
With ConSol partners.
Correct.
And so, are you finding that people come to you after failing to find people through LinkedIn or job posting on their websites? Does that work in the broadcast industry?
Of course. People will go out to their own networks first of all, and then if there is a problem or they can't find someone, then they'll come to us to find the specialist needs.
Mm. And do you find that you're trying to assess the technological capabilities of people in those cases? How do you...
So I think there's an increased need for needing the IT and broadcast technical skills now. But I think, as you say, with the lack of people in the industry, it is about the individual, and actually, is the individual willing to learn? Can these skills be taught? So I think that's the importance.
Okay. And Joel, how is SMPTE helping, trying to address the skills gap and support businesses?
Actually, we do offer a number of IP, internet working type services, and I don't want this to turn into a commercial for SMPTE, but we're trying very hard to help the traditional broadcaster who is motivated to stay up with the changing technology, to learn what they need to learn, not only to manipulate routers and switches and addressing and things like that, but also to speak the same language as the IT professionals, because as you were saying, you know, a team, they need to work together, but they also need to speak the same language and use the same terms and vocabulary.
And what about going up the pipeline to kind of where people are first coming into the industry? Is SMPTE doing work there to try and encourage the next generation?
We are actually. We just launched a series of webcasts we're finding that early career people are coming in with specific skill sets, specific knowledge that they bring with them. I think they are much more apt to have some understanding of a little bit of coding and IT and things like that. Maybe not the depth that you would need in a professional content creation facility, but there are some underlying principle science and concepts that they maybe have not learned, or maybe mid-career people who have learned on their own, and there are some gaps in there as well. So what we've done is launched a series of webcasts free to everybody on human perception as it relates to motion imaging, color science fundamentals, not basics, certainly not basics. These are fundamental concepts, and I mean really at the science level. And we'll continue that, but we're also developing e-learning packages along those same lines so that you can get deeper into those types of knowledge areas. And I do want to differentiate between skill and knowledge I'm sorry, I don't want to manipulate. We are an accredited Cisco Networking Academy, and so we offer their CCNA program as well. And one of the things that I tell everybody is that regardless of who you take it from, we hope you will come to SMPTE, but their Introduction to Networking course is absolutely essential. It's a very intense course, but you learn not only how to work and configure routers and switches and IP, but subnetting, working with VLANs, virtual LANs, and things like that. So, absolutely essential course.
So my perception is that, you know, a lot of the next generation coming in, they're very interested in media because they're all YouTube savvy. They all want to be involved in production, either directly behind the camera or, in often cases, in front of the camera. Do we share this concern that actually getting people into the engineering roles is potentially going to get worse in the future?
I think the STEM education is a good topic to touch on. That last year it dropped by 1% of people in education actually going into the STEM education, and I think this needs to be addressed at the actual educational stage.
So this is science, technology, engineering, and maths.
Correct.
Yep. So this is. I know there's many programs. Certainly in the UK, there's the STEM Ambassadors program. I suspect there's a US similar kind of ambassador program going into schools and trying to educate the next generation. Martin, Gerrard, you both work for relatively large companies. Do your companies support staff in those kind of, giving them time to go and participate in those kind of
Yeah, very much so. We're part of the STEM program, and we're also part of, we have an initiative, Women in Tech, within the company as well, and it is all about trying to get more people involved in those kind of sort of STEM subjects. And one of the key things that Joel said there was about skills versus knowledge. And skills, we can teach people skills, It's about when I interview, is someone actually understanding a term or just being able to mention a term that they've actually taken a little bit of interest. They might not know any of the details about it. That's fine. We can send them on training courses for that. But to have taken an interest and have actually just read up about subjects, that's one of the key things that we look for.
So it sounds like you'd agree that it's more about encouraging the engineering mindset from an early age rather than necessarily training the specific broadcast knowledge or IP knowledge or whichever. It's just encouraging.
I happen to think that the people, the kids, I'll call them kids, the young people in universities and college, they have made a career decision. They kind of know what they want to do. They may not end up doing that later in life, but they've made a career choice. I believe that as an industry, we need to go earlier than that. Kindergarten,
Yeah.
high school, and I think high school comes first because those kids are trying to figure out what they want to do. And a lot of them don't know that engineering in the broadcasting industry is a career option.
Yeah.
They have their AV clubs and they have the news in the morning at the schools. Almost every school has that. But globally, a lot of kids don't know this is an option.
Of course, but I think also going actually back to kindergarten, CBS did an interview in terms of actually educating people from the age of kindergarten in terms of coding.
Yes.
And actually having that mindset throughout.
Yes.
Because unfortunately, by the time somebody gets to make their options in education, that their mind is already made up. So if it's already embedded from a very early age,
Absolutely.
there's more chance of females and males both going into STEM education.
Excellent point. Excellent.
And we have people. We have lots of work experience within Sky, specifically TV engineering, and that's some of the comments we get is, I didn't even realise this was a job. That's sort of like a fundamental thing.
I've been in broadcast for 20 years and I work various jobs, and I still get asked when will my name be on certain credits and which programs I'll be in. It's not just about program making, there's a lot more to it. I'm sure we've all shared that.
Yes.
So let's bring it back to adult level, educating, I suppose, current staff and trying to find the right people, moving on to the IP challenge. So Gerrard, obviously you made a switch from a broadcast role into a very IT-focused company with Arista. Can you talk around that change and your experience of working with IT guys and broadcast guys?
Yeah, so I was at Snow Wilcox for 22 years, and the reason I stayed there was because every time I got a little bit bored, there was another challenge, there was another learning experience. So I've gone from running teams of people designing hardware through designing software, running the R&D team, running the patent portfolio, and finally the last kind of few years was working out how to do this IP stuff. And I was fascinated, and that's exactly what kept me there, was that every time I needed a new challenge, there was a new challenge. And the people were brilliant, and those things I think are what enthuse people to do more stuff. If you can learn more stuff and you can work with really good people, that's amazing. I realised that as a broadcast guy, I needed to know more about IP, and I realised that working for a broadcast vendor, I was never going to have enough time to learn enough about IP. And I felt that I had to, something you talked about being able to communicate between broadcasters and IP guys, and that's exactly the move I've tried to make. I've tried to become, so to an IP guy, I'm a broadcast guy, and to a broadcast guy, I'm an IP guy. I'm a translator between what the broadcast end customer needs to achieve and how we can do that in IP. And so I've got to say, I thought I understood IP fairly well. I moved to Arista and I realised, wow, there's just so much more to learn. So brilliant move, because a lot more opportunity to learn more. But I guess this underlines what I said before. It's actually, I think, about the enthusiasm that you have to learn new stuff, the ability to learn new stuff, the flexibility to learn new stuff. So I feel like I've still got like 95% of the stuff still to learn, but I feel like I've been able to broaden my capability and continue to do this thing where I can translate between the two different broadcast and IP, and maybe we'll cover this later on, but do you know what, they are just very different.
Yeah.
They're very technical, but they're very different, and I think of it as like the ISO stack. There's 7 layers, right? And there's no possibility of any one person understanding that entire stack now. And if you look in the IT world or the IP world or the software world, that is exactly what the case is. There's not a single person whose responsibility is to understand everything. And I think that we need to somehow translate that into this move of broadcast into IP, because I think a lot of broadcast guys, your guys seem pretty good at this. We've had lots of conversations, I think. A lot of guys in the broadcast world are actually, they do understand the whole stack. They understand how SDI works, they understand how the decoder works, and they understand the application layer that has been built on top of that, the delivery of programs and production values. If you then add all the 7 layers of ISO underneath that, there's no possibility that any one person can do that. So we have to find ways that teams can exist and that people can have knowledge that builds on other knowledge, but not have to know that they know everything about that knowledge. We have to build on top of layers.
Okay, so Martin, you manage a team, and I don't know how large it is, but I'm guessing you have quite a mix of knowledge in that team. And how do you make sure that people have the right knowledge? And
so within my team, I have a relatively small team, which are specialists in IP deployment and transmission and uplink. We have various different disciplines, but across the wider department, we've just been engaging in for about the last year, and we're continuing on this now, of getting everyone like a base layer of IP knowledge, and it goes back to the thing about knowing terms and language and all that kind of stuff. We put all of the department, which is about 300, on IP courses, so that when they're talking to the WAN guys, they know terms within the MPLS and within some of the WAN technologies and the LAN technologies. And it's exactly that, about people understanding the same language. And so I don't know everything, but when I speak to our network guys, I have enough knowledge and enough terms to be able to do a similar thing to Gerrard, where it's relating what we're doing in broadcast into the network world. So yeah, we're very much about getting everyone a base layer, and then what we end up with is sort of pockets of specialism as well.
I would add to that there is that flip side, the IT side, understanding the the goals of traditional broadcasting and the quality standards.
Don't just take a ticket. That's the that's some of the mentality we've had in the past. We definitely don't have that within our IT department now, but we did for a while, where it's the urgency of, okay, we're off the air, so that's okay, take a ticket and we'll look at it. Now they understand that, okay, we're off the air, or we've got a serious degrading problem, and they look straight away. So yeah.
And there's a need for the guys that look after the network to understand that you have different needs to the office environment. You're not keeping the spreadsheets running. You actually have very complex PTP and incredibly complex multicast to keep running, and that's not a skill set that is common in the everyday.
I was going to ask, you said earlier there's quite a large pool of people on the IT side of the fence. Should broadcasters just be going to that pool and drawing from it, or is that not the right skills to bring?
I mean, well, that's an interesting case. I mean, if you look at the skill set needed for a dedicated IP guy in a broadcast facility these days, 2110 AS67, it is going to be multicast and PTP. The problem we've got in that sense is that if you look at the other places where you need multicast and PTP, it's high frequency trading. I'm willing to bet those guys pay more than the broadcast guys pay. So somehow we have to gain those skills, but without necessarily having to pay the premium.
So it's not just simply a case of looking for someone with the Cisco certification or whichever.
Well, again, going back to the discussion that when you hire someone who, it's yes, what they know and know how to do is important, but then there's the character side of it. There's the willingness, the excitement to learn, the motivation to learn, the broadcaster to learn IT. But flip that around on the IT side. You find an expert IT person who has those same characteristics to learn the other side of it, the traditional broadcast vocabulary.
I think that's spot on. If you find somebody who's capable of learning, and is interested in the application, then they can be taught multicast and BTP. I think if you're looking to find somebody who already knows all those things, that may be more difficult.
So how can broadcast companies, whether they're vendors, end customers, how can they educate their staff and encourage them? I mean, do they have to send them on classroom courses? Is there training material out there? What are people's views on that? How are people learning?
There's a huge amount of stuff just on the internet. I mean, maybe not all of it is perfectly accurate, but I mean, you can do a lot of self-teaching in terms of what is a VLAN, what is multicast, how does multicast work, how does BTP work, how does routing work, how does BGP work. There's just YouTube it. There's a ton of stuff out there. If you're prepared to spend, it's what I did, right? I spent half an hour a day or something watching a video, and slowly you kind of go, I don't know what he means about that. Well, let me find a video about that then. And a lot of it is actually pretty high quality stuff. I mean, the CCNA stuff is amazing. Yeah. It's a competitor to us, but actually they've done a great job of having a stack of training and certification. I think to get to multicast, you've got to go quite a long way through that process. But to get basic training, basic CCNA, probably a good way to go.
And not to minimize Cisco certification, we position our CCNA courses as this is stuff you need to know. The certification, that is a personal decision, and probably a good thing to have on your resume. But the knowledge that you get in it, will translate a lot of it across platforms and across companies and such.
And there are tools available for many companies that allow you to do network simulation. So you can get models of our switches, models of other people's switches. You can run them up in GNS3 or something, and you can teach yourself, hands-on teach yourself. I mean, they are real switches doing real things. You can work out what happens if you configure something badly, or you can work out, what is this VLAN thing, what is tagging, blah, blah, blah.
I guess different people learn in different ways. Some people
absolutely.
very hands-on like that, some people with the videos. I mean, Martin, you must face, how do you educate your team, and do you give them time to watch YouTube?
Well, I was just going to say that's the struggle actually, is we're under constant pressure to deliver the same service for cheaper or the same money, and we don't have a lot of that time to say, okay, well, go off and look at YouTube for half a day, and so unfortunately, going back to the thing about knowledge and skills, is that actually that it's key that the person actually wants to understand it, because unfortunately, whether right or wrong, you have to spend your own time learning some of these skills.
Yes, absolutely.
I would challenge broadcast companies and organizations to support their staff's development, and not just good job. That is important.
Yeah.
But if developing these kinds of skills, and I'm not trying to say that you need to take SMPTE courses or somebody's courses, but if you have a specific goal in mind, and the employee is motivated to learn and they want to take it, and they pass it, they put the time and the effort into it, there are some companies that reimburse their employees for successful completion. I've spoken to people who say, well, I can't afford it, and my company's not going to pay for it. It's one thing, and you can learn a lot on the internet, but having access to experts to answer your questions also puts it into perspective and fills in those gaps that you might walk away from a YouTube video with. Having access to those experts in the area, I think, is also an important element of learning what you need to learn.
Yeah.
And one of the good things that Sky have done is actually with LinkedIn Learning, and actually everyone who works at Sky has access to the full
Excellent.
LinkedIn Learning portfolio at no personal charge. So and there's an amazing amount of information, and some of it we've been talking a lot about sort of hard skills. But actually, there's a lot of soft skills that the guys need to have as well. It's not necessarily just about all of those hard skills like IP and broadcast and stuff. It's actually getting engineers to have the soft skills as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
full portfolios.
A particularly important one is how to work within a team effectively. And I'm not talking about doing team building. I'm talking about team development, where you have to value differences in opinion. You have to value differences in personality. You have to value difference in knowledge and be patient, and all of those soft kind of skills of working within a team and know how to work within a team and achieve all of the goals of the team together.
And within all of my team's personal development plans, every year it's one of their goals is to broaden their soft skills, because I see that as a massive advantage to people as well.
And I think that's certainly an area where I know that both SMPTE and IABM are very keen to encourage all employers, whatever type they are, whatever size they are, to encourage development in their staff and regularly review skills and knowledge.
Is it Richard Branson? He says, train your people so that they could leave and then treat them so they don't. I love that.
Yes, exactly.
I think that's,
I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
So great, thank you everyone. I think we'll wrap it up there. So thank you all for your views. So if you'd like to learn more about what the IABM can do to support training, please get in touch or go to the website. Otherwise, thank you very much for listening, and I'll leave you with the final words of a very great man: never stop learning.